Hi, fifth graders. This week, your topic is going to be multiplication with decimals. Your lesson is going to be split into two parts. The first half is going to be multiplying decimals by the power of 10. The second part will be multiplying decimals using the traditional algorithm. If you look here at what I have the place value chart at the top of the page. Just as a refresher, if your decimal point is here, everything to the left of the decimal point is a whole number value. Anything to the right is a decimal or fractional value. Today I'm going to show you some quick tricks of how to multiply decimals by the power of 10. And you can see here the first problem I have is 4 and 53 hundredths multiplied by 10 to the first power. And if you remember the trick when we talked about powers of 10 in school, 10 to the first power means the exponent 1, 1, 0, so that's equal to 10. So when you're doing problems like this, though, it's easier if you use a trick of movement. And when you're multiplying with movement of powers of 10, you're always moving to the right. So I'm going to write up here, when you multiply, you're moving to the right. So let's do the first problem together. 4 and 53 hundredths. I always suggest you first rewrite the decimal. And I use this as a trick to tell me, well, how many times do I move the decimal? 10 to the first power means I move it once and I'm moving to the right, so I move this direction and I make my decimal point there. So what that means is this is actually equal to 45 and 3/10 because I multiplied it by 10, the decimal point moved once to the right. So the answer to the problem is 45 and 3/10. Well, what if we do it with 10 to the second power, which is 10 times 10 or 100? Well, if I write the decimal again, 4 and 53 hundredths, I'm going to use this as a clue. Now I'm going to move the decimal point twice because I'm multiplying by 100. I go around the number once, twice, and it lands here. So that means the answer is 453. I certainly could write in 0/10, but not necessary. Let's try another one. What about the third power, where 10 times 10 times 10, which is 100? I would write the decimal 4 and 53 hundredths again. This time I'm going to move the decimal point 3 times. So watch. 1, 2, 3. We'll have an empty place here. We've talked about this in school before. Whenever you see an empty place, you put in a 0. So that means the answer to this problem is 4,530 because we moved the decimal point 3 times, or basically multiplied by 1,000. One more time, 4 and 53 hundredths, I'm going to write it again. Multiplied times 10 to the fourth place, which is 4 zeros, is 10,000. That means my trick, I'm going to move the decimal point 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Make my decimal point. I have 2 empty places. I put zeros in there. So that means my answer is 45,300. So that's just to show you how the movement happens when you're multiplying by a power of 10. Again, you're always moving to the right. I have a few more here for us to practice with. So let's look at the first problem, 5 and 8/10. Again, I'm going to rewrite the decimal. 5 and 8/10 times 10 to the second power, which means multiply by 100. But we're going to use the trick. This is going to tell me to move the decimal point twice. 1, 2. That's where the decimal point goes. I have an empty place. I put in a 0. So that means the final answer is 580. 31 hundredths times 10 to the fourth power. Again, I rewrite the decimal. I'm going to be multiplying by 10,000, but I'm going to use that exponent as a trick. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 2 empty places. I put in zeros. So that means my answer is 3,100. I could skip the 0 altogether. We don't typically write the zeros to the left, but I wanted to show you that you could carry it over if you wanted to. One more, 673 thousandths. Going to write the decimal. I'm multiplying by 10 to the third power. That means I'm multiplying by 1,000. This, I'm using the trick, move the decimal point to the right 3 times. 1, 2, 3. It lands there. So my answer is 673. Hopefully this tutorial was helpful to you. You have, I believe, 8 task cards to do on your own. Give it a shot. They're multiple choice. You are not required to show work for these problems. They are multiple choice. Just put in the answer or the letter of the answer in the task card box. If you have any questions, if you're not getting it, reach out to your teacher or watch the additional video that's attached. Great job, everyone.